Narrating India, outlined by Kolstrup. Summary. The text Karma opens up with a man called Sir Mohan Lal. He is in a first class waiting room and there he admires his own formal appearance. He then orders a scotch, as it's a very formal English drink. Mohan Lal aspires to be accepted into the British culture instead of his own Indian culture. He feels that his own culture is poor and can't keep up with the British culture. Outside the waiting room sits his wife, Lachami, who's eating traditional Indian food. She calls a coolie over to carry her luggage and afterwards starts a conversation with him, as her husband doesn't do that. And she isn't allowed any family members in the house, and her husband doesn't like their traditions and that they're very poor. Mohan Lal and his wife lives on separate floors, and he only visits her at night, but they've never conceived a child. As Lachami is eating, safe and sound in the middle-class space, Mohan Lal is quietly reading in the first-class space reserved for him. As two British soldiers enter, Mohan Lal accepts them into his booth, but the soldiers demand him to leave. When he refuses, they throw his belongings and Mohan Lal himself out of the train. Lachami, oblivious to the situation, sees her husband on the platform and, in surprise, she spits out her food. Characterization. The main characters of the story are Sir Mohan Lal and his wife Lachami. Sir Mohan Lal is a well-mannered man. He's a barrister who talks, acts, and behaves like a British man, but he's Indian and he also has the Indian accents as well. Outer characterization. Sir Mohan is described as handsome with a nicely trimmed mustache. He's wearing a nice suit and also smells nice. The inner characterization. He's very well educated, but he's also arrogant, and he hates the Indian culture, even his wife. But he loves the Indian culture, though. He's also kind of racist, especially to his wife. And he's very controlling over her. Sir Mohan Lal is a round character, as we know a lot about both his inner and his outer characteristics. He's on the other hand a static character, as he remains the same throughout the whole story, and we don't see a development through the story, even though he gets thrown out of the train. Lachami is a typical Indian woman. She stays at home while her husband works. The outer characterization of her, Lachami is described as a short and overweight woman and in her middle 40s. She's wearing a dirty white sari with a red border. She also has a diamond nose ring and has several gold bangles on her arm. And the inner characterization, Lachami is outgoing but also lonely, as she's isolated in her own home by her husband. She likes food, which is probably led to her being overweight. She's very quiet but talks to people when she gets the chance, because again she's very lonely in her own house and wants to talk to people. She's also a round character, as we get a lot of information about her. She's static like her husband, as she doesn't go through development throughout the story. The soldiers are side characters, and we don't know a lot about them other than they're aggressive, rude, and also racist towards Mohan Lal. The coolie is also a side character and acts nice towards Lachami as they talk, and he listens to her. The point of view of the story is in third person, as it only follows our characters and doesn't know how they feel or anything like that. And that is also seen from outside. The story is chronological, even though we also start in medias res when he's looking in the mirror. We don't, and also the reason why it's chronological is because we don't get any flashbacks. We only get facts about the past. The ending is also very open as we don't get a conclusion. And we only hear about how Lachami sees her husband on the platform and then spits out her food in shock, probably because she realizes she's going to be alone in England and she can't talk their language. Time and place. The place is in England on a train, but both first and middle class. We don't specifically know the time, but based on the two soldiers' outfit, we can guess that it's before India won its independence over England, which would be around 1947. The theme of this story is karma, and its own title also suggests that. The way that Mohanlal treats other people, and especially his wife when he keeps isolating her from seeing other people. It does catch up to him in the end, though, when he's treated the way that he has been treating other people, both his wife and her family, but to the whole people of India as a whole, as he doesn't like the culture and dismisses the whole culture, even though that's the culture that he himself is from, which is also why he's racist. The message of this short story could very well be treat others the way that you want to be treated. If you do believe in karma, then you know that karma, either good or bad, will end up catching up to you. And in this short story, it did catch up to Mohanlal, his bad karma, when he got treated the way that he had been treating Indian people and throwing his own culture out of the window. In comparison, you could compare this story to the short story that we also read in class not long ago, A Pair of Mustachios. Mustachios is much like karma in some way about hierarchy. In Mustachios, the rich man with the fancy mustache is higher in the hierarchy than the buyer because of his ancestors, and he believes that this other man can't be wearing the kind of mustache that he is, which in some cases discriminating. In karma, we see the same kind of hierarchy. Mohanlal feels or is higher in the hierarchy than his wife and her family because they have this Indian and poor culture, and he's also towards the Indian people as well. As I just said, hierarchy is present in both short stories, and for that reason, we can compare these two stories to each other.